Hey everybody, Marsh here, and I just finished a real good book called Creativity, and it's by the president of Pixar and Disney Animation, Ed Catmull. And in the book, at the end, he's talking about his conversations and his relationship with the late great Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. And there at the end, he was talking to Steve, and Steve said to him, he said, "Ed, I understand this, that as brilliant as Apple's products are today, will eventually all end up in tomorrow's landfills." And I think that so encapsulates who Steve Jobs was. And Jobs understood that what he did, what he had to do is he had to constantly push his team and his companies to reinvent themselves, because what is brilliance, what is mind-blowing today is only decaying tomorrow, and eventually just becomes the norm, or just becomes junk. It just gets scrapped. And I think this quote relates so much to us in sales, because when you got into sales, you had a treasure map. You had a treasure of opportunities. You treasured the relationships you get to work with customers. You treasured the opportunity to make more money. You treasured the one-on-one coaching that you had with some of the best management that you'd ever been a part of, and it was so intriguing to you. But what happened is this: the reason why you're no longer growing, the reason why you're mediocre in what you're doing now, is because you're on your way to the landfill. You see, you didn't constantly reinvent yourself. You took a hold of the treasure, and you're trying to live off that one treasure. And our business is constantly changing. The landscape is constantly changing. Customers' buying habits are changing. You're not. And so you've got to stop looking at the treasure and start reinventing yourself. You've got to reinvest that treasure. So yes, this was a high. Yes, I had a good month. Now what I've got to do is I've got to push against the walls of mediocrity. I've got to push against the walls of complacency, because I know this: if I don't, my career will end up in the landfill. I'll become junk. Professionally, I'll become junk. And then what you're left with is you're left with all these memories of what you once did, but you've got no imagination for tomorrow. Steve Jobs imagined something better tomorrow. He wanted to put a dent in the universe. Okay, that is a forward-thinking guy. How forward-thinking are you? Most of us in sales, we think back. We love the memories, but we don't think of the possibilities. We don't imagine something brighter. And so what we want it to do, we want it to just come to us. It doesn't happen that way. You've got to work for it. You've got to fight for it. Because what's coming up behind you is that complacency, is mediocrity, is good enough. Steve Jobs understood it couldn't be good enough. It had to be either excellent or it didn't get produced at all. And what I want to challenge you to do in sales is keep that quote in mind, that what's a treasure today will eventually become a landfill experience if you don't push against all those things running up behind you. There are other people coming to take your spot. There are other people coming to take your customers. And what you've got to realize is you've got to take your treasure and reinvest it. You've got to reinvest how you work with customers. You've got to reinvest what you know about your product and also your competitor's product. You've got to reinvest how you can close better, how you can negotiate better, how you can relate to customers better. You've got to constantly reinvent yourself. And if you'll do that, you'll never end up in a landfill experience. Until next time, I'm Marsh, and I'll see you on the blacktop.